June 22, 1943. 27,000 feet over occupied France, sunlight poured across a cold ocean of clouds. In his Focke-Wulf 190, Luftwaffe pilot Hans Kramer grinned behind his oxygen mask. Below him, a group of heavy silver-bodied fighters rumbled across the sky. Republic P-47 Thunderbolts. Flying milk bottles, he sneered. Compared to the sleek German planes, the American newcomers looked ridiculous. Blunt noses, thick fuselages, too big to dogfight, too slow to run. Yet in that single moment, Germany's confidence in air superiority was about to face its greatest challenge. When the Thunderbolt first arrived in England that spring, even American pilots doubted it. It was enormous, 7 tons of metal and muscle, the biggest single-engine fighter anyone had ever seen. Mechanics complained that it took 2 men just to lift one of its cowl panels. The British, who adored the elegant Spitfire, mocked it openly. Some joked it must have been designed by a blacksmith. Others said it was less an airplane and more a flying beer keg. Its huge Pratt & Whitney R2800 engine overheated, radios shorted out, and the turbocharger made the cockpit sound like a factory boiler room. Early missions ended in frustration. Fuel leaks, frozen guns, and pilots lost over the channel. Colonel Hub Zemke, commander of the 56th Fighter Group, refused to give up. A veteran pilot and thinker, Zemke studied the Thunderbolt like a scientist. He realized it was not a dancer, it was a sledgehammer. The P-47 could climb higher, dive faster, and take more punishment than any fighter ever built. Instead of twisting with Messerschmitts in close combat, Zemke taught his men to strike from altitude, dive at nearly 500 miles an hour, fire, and pull away before the Germans could react. He called it boom and zoom. To the Luftwaffe, it would soon feel like thunder from nowhere. On June 26, 1943, Second Lieutenant Robert S. Johnson of the 56th learned what indestructible truly meant. Returning from a mission over France, he was attacked by one of Germany's finest aces, Egon Mayer. Cannon shells exploded across Johnson's plane. Hydraulic fluid sprayed the cockpit. Controls jammed. Trapped inside, Johnson could neither fight nor bail out. The Germans circled behind and fired again and again over 200 rounds. The canopy shattered. Flames licked across the fuselage. But the Thunderbolt refused to fall. Johnson finally limped back to England, his plane torn like paper. Mechanics counted 21 cannon hits, 200 bullet holes, and 8 unexploded shells still buried in the wings. The engine was destroyed, the tail half ripped away. Johnson walked out unhurt. When reporters asked how he survived, he just said, "They can't kill a Thunderbolt." That story spread like wildfire. Pilots stopped laughing. The plane that looked like a milk bottle had turned into a steel fortress. Engineers improved the design, fixing the early flaws, strengthening the frame, and adding extra firepower, 850 caliber Browning machine guns. Together they could spit 13 pounds of lead every second. The P-47 was now the most heavily armed fighter in the world. A single burst could slice a locomotive in half. Its turbo-supercharged engine meant it could fight above 30,000 feet, far beyond the reach of most German planes. Slowly, the balance of the air war began to shift. By late 1943, Zemke's Wolfpack was hunting the hunters. Over France and the Low Countries, Thunderbolts began escorting bombers deeper into enemy territory. They protected B-17s over Schweinfurt, Regensburg, and Bremen, missions once considered suicidal. When German fighters dived into attack, the Thunderbolts dived back. The sky filled with silver flashes and tracer fire. P-47s could dive at over 500 miles per hour, so fast that Luftwaffe pilots' wings sometimes ripped apart trying to follow. In a matter of months, German kill ratios collapsed. The laughter on Luftwaffe radios stopped. As winter approached, the P-47 evolved again. Engineers added new drop tanks, extending its range by hundreds of miles. Now the Jug, as pilots fondly called it, could escort bombers all the way to Berlin. Over the German capital, pilots looked down at anti-aircraft bursts and smoke rising from factories, realizing they were flying farther than anyone thought possible. They painted names and pinups on their cowlings. Spirit of Atlantic City, Misfire, Wicked Wobbit. The sky was alive with American thunder. Spring 1944 brought a new mission: destroy. Germany's ability to fight on the ground. The Thunderbolt became a fighter bomber, swooping low to tear apart trains, convoys, and tanks. 8 machine guns plus rockets and 500-pound bombs. turned it into a flying battering ram. Rail yards erupted in flame. Columns of trucks vanished under clouds of dust. Pilots came home covered in oil and smoke, their planes riddled with holes and still flying. The Germans nicknamed it Der Schlechter, the Butcher. Nothing in their arsenal could match its combination of speed, firepower, and sheer durability. Then came June 6, 1944, D-Day. As Allied troops stormed Normandy's beaches, hundreds of P-47s roared overhead, strafing bunkers, blasting gun emplacements, and cutting off reinforcements. Every road, bridge, and rail line within 30 miles of the coast was shredded by thunderbolts. For German soldiers trapped below, it was hell on earth. Pilots flew up to 5 missions a day, rearming and refueling in minutes. Their roar became the soundtrack of liberation. By autumn, as the Allies pushed toward Germany, the Luftwaffe was crumbling. Its fuel depots lay in ruins. Its new jets were grounded for lack of gasoline. And the Thunderbolts still came, destroying, hammering, never stopping. Even when newer Mustangs appeared with longer range, the Jug remained the workhorse of ground attack. Mechanics loved it, soldiers trusted it, and generals relied on it. Then, in December 1944, came the Battle of the Bulge, Hitler's final gamble. The Ardennes forest lay under deep snow as German tanks punched through American lines. For days, fog and blizzards grounded Allied aircraft. On December 23rd, the skies finally cleared and the Thunderbolts rose. Hundreds of them screamed low over the white fields, unleashing rockets and bombs on anything that moved. Convoys burned. Tanks exploded. Roads vanished under fire. Pilots flew so low they could see German soldiers diving for cover in the snow. In just 2 days, P-47s destroyed over 500 vehicles and dozens of tanks. The Luftwaffe could do nothing but watch its last offensive die under wings of thunder. By 1945, the P-47's legend was unshakable. It had flown over 540,000 combat sorties, dropped 132,000 tons of bombs, and destroyed 86,000 railway cars, 9,000 locomotives, and 6,000 tanks. No other fighter in the Allied inventory came close. Loss rates were astonishingly low, barely 1% of all missions. Pilots trusted the Jug like a brother. You could fly her home with half a wing and 1 cylinder, one said. Many did. When the war ended, airfields across Europe were littered with wrecked German planes and lines of P-47s ready for their next flight. The jet age was coming and the Thunderbolt's days were numbered. But for those who flew it, nothing could replace it. Robert Johnson, the man who survived 200 bullets, once said, "If I had to go to hell and back, I'd want to do it in a P-47. He meant it. In the years that followed, the P-47 served in dozens of air forces, from Latin America to Asia. It became a farmer's helper in peacetime, spraying crops where it had once dropped bombs. Engineers who built it went on to design America's next generation of fighters. The lessons of the Jug, power, reliability, survivability, echoed through every jet that came after. The Germans had once laughed, calling it a flying milk bottle. History laughed last. The P-47 proved that victory, in the skies, doesn't belong to the prettiest airplane, or even the fastest, but to the toughest. It was a plane that could take a punch, fight back, and bring its pilot home. In the thunder of its engines was the sound of an entire nation's determination, the sound of industry, courage, and raw will. By the time peace came to Europe, the Jug had written its name across the clouds. It began as a joke. It ended as a legend. And when the last of them flew home, their wings carried not just pilots, but the weight of a promise kept, that freedom would come thundering from the skies.